to strike the person in a way that creates really hard contact, they're calibrating. We even practice very, very much with, even in the beginning, with learning how to just touch the surface. Now, the calibration would be now, go just a little into the muscle.
Yeah.
Fascia into muscle.
Right.
Then go an inch into muscle, then go, and then working your way up to getting into organ deep strike.
Yeah. That's
And learn how to
I
calibrate.
like to use the rice bags because you can get a sense of penetration.
And we use no equipment like that whatsoever. We want everything to be a feedback process because it's as important to learn how to receive strikes.
Sure.
Really learn how to receive strikes. I've done classes where we've spent 4 hours only hitting each other in the face with hard fist punches.
I didn't see that class. I'd have to see that for myself.
And that's one of the things I tell people. If you're trying to really get a taste of Systema, you'll never get it from one class. You're gonna have to see 20 or 30.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on. Like today, all we did today was all really working subtleties of knife and handgun disarms.
Well, you're a master in that. You lectured in the police academy, in the FBI, a number of other places.
Not FBI, but
Yeah.
at the police academy, yeah. I've had an FBI student who put me on the expert witness list years ago, I think. He's retired now.
So, I mean, what do you have to say to the average practitioner who maybe is a black belt in karate or somebody who's does Thai kickboxing?
Well, and you should mention that. I'll say this, just like myself, I think most people that end up getting the okay from Vladimir or Mikhail to teach have come to this after at least a few decades training in these other arts. Those people are attracted, they realize there's more.
Yeah.
And there's holes.
Yes.
Even for me, I was an integrationist from day one. I'd studied a lot of stuff and I still saw holes. This is the first thing I've seen that not only fills all those holes, but perfectly integrates every principle I've ever learned in all those other arts. And it's a mind blow to see that. And I mean on every level. I don't just mean on the combatives level.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be interviewing you, but for the fact that I understand and know about your amount of time you put into all the varied martial arts that have come along. And for you to go from JKD to Systema just really intrigues me. And what were your realizations as you began studying Systema?
Good question. Oh gosh, there are numerous.
Yeah.
On the combatives level, I would say it's fantastic training methodology for understanding how to do slow training in progressions in such a way that it remains realistic. There's a methodology for that, for how to still not be working from fixed patterns, set response progressions.
Right.
There's a progression whereby you learn the principles and the concepts of what to do. And then there's drill progressions to learn how to apply that, and yet how to learn how to adapt immediately when a variable comes in that is not exactly the way it was just 3 minutes ago the first time you did it. Because immediately you're learning to adapt and flow is the idea, see. So a lot of times in the beginning class, you may just be doing simple intercepting of a strike and returning the strike.
But adaptive flow is something you understand from JKD.
Right.
What was it that you saw in Systema?
That being done at a quantum level beyond.
Is it a beyond, or is it on another path?
Well, I guess you could say it. I don't.
What do you think Bruce would have thought about it?
I think if Bruce saw this,
Or Danny.
Danny is doing it.
What?
He started the same year I did, and I think he was already 80 or almost 80 in 2012.
What does he have to say?
Oh, he loves it. He thinks it's fantastic.
Huh.
When he goes around and does his JKD Filipino classes around, he still tells people to go do Systema. There's video of him on YouTube doing it out of Martin Wheeler's Academy in LA.
Send me a copy of that. I don't know.
Okay, I'll send you the link for that. Yeah.
I mean, he's probably the greatest martial artist in our,
He's one of the top in our country, without a doubt.
and
I would say.
nobody's been more open to new information than
Exactly,
he has.
see, there you have it.
And a
Right.
great human being.
Yeah, definitely he is. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time with that gentleman, yep.
How's he doing?
He's doing great, he's still healthy, he still teaches. And one of the other pretty advanced, very advanced system instructors in the country is out of Martin Wheeler School in LA, Manami Matani Steph. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name perfectly right, but Dan spends a lot of time, and Manami's also a JKD FMA guy.
I saw him. He
Yes,
kind
he's
of a thin
fantastic.
Asian guy.
Yes, yeah, he's fantastic, and he's another one that came from that. He still goes to see Dan, and Dan does private lessons with him, and at Martin School, and he still goes to check out the JKD classes and sees Dan all the time. So that you know, there's a lot of connectedness. In fact, I think it was Jeff Imada. I don't know if you know that name.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, who's done a lot of stunt work and movies and
Yes.
all. I believe Jeff was the one that first approached Dan and said, Dan, you got to see this Systema. You need to come and see this. I heard that through the grapevine that's how it happened.
Wow.
Jeff discovered it first and was training and got Dan to do it.
And what any comments from, other than the fact that he's doing it, from Danny about the effectiveness of the art?
I haven't really seen much there. I mean, I've seen him get on, I believe there's actual YouTube where he's standing there endorsing it. I know he does when he does seminars. I've known guys that went to St. Peter's Mo a few years ago when Dan was here, and he was raving about it right
But he
there.
also raves about penchocks.
Yeah, he does. He likes everything. He likes a lot of
everything.
stuff. Yeah, if he doesn't like it, he doesn't do it. That's for
Greatest
sure.
guy in the world.
One of the things he does talk about, I know, is he said it's the brilliance in the relaxation and how it's used and how it's taught, and I know he loves it. I know that.
Wow. So, how long do you think it takes before a person feels a certain amount of competency?
You know what? That is really a big variable question. It's going to depend on their mentality. And you know something, and it occurred to me to mention this, because I kind of wanted to see how you'd respond to this yourself. But one of the things I'm noticing since the days when we were younger and we started, which century was that? Oh yeah, it was the last century. So, one of the things I notice now is how fragmented people's lifestyles are. I notice now far more than I did when we were coming up and going to classes. You don't see a lot of people that'll go to these classes, and I mean it's like classes, let's say this day and this day, who show up for 90% of the classes or 100. It's more like you might see them once every 2
Maybe
months.
yoga class, as long as they're paying, they feel they can drop in anytime.
Yeah, and I'm thinking,
I can't teach them.
I guess they're getting something out of that.
Yeah.
But what it is exactly, I don't know. But I don't fault them for it, because I'm noticing this is more the way of the world. I mean, I only have a handful of people that have been around for years, and they're here all the time.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
It just seems to be more pronounced, though, I think, than decades
Yeah.
back. Would you say so?
Well, it seems to me that as of today, the focus is so exclusively on mixed martial arts, which is a competition defined by rules and procedures, and it just seems people have abandoned traditional martial arts. In some senses, of course, useless martial arts should be put aside, but at the same time, I find very little interest anymore. But I think that the art that you're teaching, Systema, goes beyond just martial practicality. And one of the things that I enjoyed watching your class is the enjoyment of your students. It seems like you created a class where, and this, I see a lot of people going to class because they have a nice group of people who they know and they practice with. And it's kind of a social thing. And
Sure.
they leave it to the master to demonstrate the higher levels. But I really enjoyed watching the class, and I find this fascinating. It just goes back to exactly what you already pointed out. People who see it from especially from a specific background, cannot absorb or understand or what they're seeing.
It has to be experienced.
It has to be experienced, yeah. And the polite way to do that would be to take a class, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or to observe a class.
Yeah, at least observe, and even then, it'll still be very limited. If you don't feel what's happening, as you well know, it's a total difference when you feel it. Just like, you know, you can see that punch, the Systema punching, and go, huh, but when you feel what's going on inside, it's a whole other story.
Well, I don't know, I am sure words would be unable to do so, but let's assume you had a really close friend who practiced Okinawan karate all his life, and you're trying to move him into, or trying to give him a open-mindedness towards what you're doing. What would you tell him?
Well, this has happened quite a few times, actually. So I tell them, okay, just be open-minded.
Yeah.
And we're going to play. And I emphasize the word play, because if you notice that the energy in the class is very playful.
Yes.
And this is no different when they train military. They want a lot of that element there because it relaxes you, doesn't it?
Capoeira is the same. It's not a specific martial art, but the idea of play, because they started it from, you know, on the beaches when they were 6 years old, remains part of it throughout, and I think helps to protect and preserve that attitude that doesn't freeze up. Yeah,
so what I'll do is I'll say, let's play, and then I'll say, you just do whatever you want to do. And naturally, they start getting pretty wound up, and especially because the frustration comes in, because they can't figure out why those blows just don't quite get to the target, or how they get jammed up and kind of brushed aside before they're fully extended. They don't understand the timing in this is very, very deceptive. We even used a metaphor when we wear camouflage fatigue pants. That's a metaphor. We camouflage our intentions, and we camouflage our movements. You know, you don't see much linear work in this art, very little linear work, which I know you can relate to also from Chinese background. So everything's camouflage, even intentions. You know, it's comical. Jay D'Amato, the guy that started California Martial Arts, my old boss, we came down here one day about 5 years ago before we did a big talk that's on YouTube. It's very fascinating, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh, I'll send you the link. It's great. I think you'll like it. So we came down here, and right away, Jay says, okay, well, show me something, right? Yeah, he's like that, right? And I said, okay. He says, well, get in your stance. And I said, okay. He says, well, get in your stance. I said, okay. He was getting really frustrated. And I said, well, just go ahead and do what you're going to do. And oddly enough, what happened is he threw a right hook. I still remember this. So when the hook came, my left arm came, and I engaged, and I dropped his right arm here, and I trapped it with my chin, and then went into an arm bar. And he just stood back and looked at me. He said, well, you didn't block or anything. I said, I didn't know what I was going to do. But that came out the way we train. We learned to put principles together and be spontaneous, and I don't know for sure what's going to happen. And it blew him away. And then he said, okay, well, I'm going to come in hard this time. And something told me, I just fell down on my butt, and I had my foot in my foot was in his groin, and I was on the ground. He said, how did you get down there that fast? Then he said, he said, Kenny, you move like you're 18 years old, and I move like an old man. He said, I need to set up a workshop and have you come over to our school in Maplewood. And that was how that ended.
Okay. And you also studied Aikido with...
Initially with Will Reed.
Did you ever study with Sensei Elliott?
Oh, yeah, somewhat. Yeah, we used to trade. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, so how often do students practice?
A minimum of twice a week is the idea.
Yeah, the idea.
As we were kind of talking about earlier. Plus, I do what Stan Brooks and I always did in the old JKD days. They go, you know, really, for every hour you put in class, you should be putting in 2 or 3 hours a week outside of class. If you want to own this, you got to train it.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
Right, we know that. And we were told that too.
So in that respect, what can a person do on his own when he's not in class?
Oh my goodness, we have tons of stuff to do.
Yeah.
You know, there are lots of breathing exercises connected with joint work similar to silk reeling. There are a lot of exercises with, oh my God, a lot of breathing exercises just with all the basic calisthenic type of work. There are tons of variations of push-ups that develop you. There's a lot of rolling and falling practice that's solo.
And yet you're not muscle bound. You look very
No.
relaxed.
In fact, that's not prescribed at all, because let's go into a little science here for a minute. Bigger, thicker muscles require more oxygen. So part of the theory is that the more that you do exercise that develops really strong tendons and connective tissue, you actually have higher per pound physical strength by developing the tendons.
And that's the essence of Tai Chi. It's not in the bones or the muscles, it's in the tendons.
Bingo, there you go. See, and it's funny how these commonalities pop up in these highly developed arts.
It is. I mean, and I don't think that Systema stole them, because Systema, well, they probably borrowed some of it. 1990s is when people started hearing about Systema. And your teacher by then had been practicing. Was he in?
My understanding is, well, not Vladimir, but so much, but Mikhail, apparently he was an infant when he started training.
Really?
Literally an infant is what I'm told.
And he's a big, he's like over 300 pounds.
He's a big man who, talk about someone who can, I haven't met him personally yet, I will, who can float like a feather.
How old is he?
I don't know exactly. Bill knows, I think. I believe that at this time he may only be around 60, I think.
60.
I think,
Well,
my understanding is
he was
Vladimir
about-
is actually older than Mikhail.
Really?
I think so.
How
I've
old
been
is
told this.
Vladimir?
I don't know exactly. He may be early 60s now.
He looks good. He also looks like, who's that guy in Taken every time? He's been made about 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're always taking his daughter, and then he goes out.
Oh,
and watches-
Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit of.
I can see that maybe. Yeah.
Have you met him yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Do you go up there?
We're trying to get, yeah, I've been up there, and we're getting ready to hopefully go. We were hoping to be able to get there in October, and Canada just said, okay, air travel's
Yeah.
open. So, and I've already talked to them up there about trying to bring all of our core guys up. They usually throw in a weekend, intensive weekend somewhere in January or February, which is great timing for a lot of our guys. So we're waiting for that announcement, and then we're planning to go back up there. And have everybody be able to meet Vladimir, and a bunch of, he has a lot of really good guys that train religiously, and they're fantastic to work with. I mean, a person's level in a weekend up there with those guys just jumps. It jumps, it really does. All these new neural pathways get created, and they're not even in your conscious mind what's happening. And you come home, and all of a sudden in a month you're doing stuff you didn't know you could do. It gets planted in there. It's very interesting how it works.
What haven't I mentioned if you'd like to?
Oh gosh. One is, be very open-minded. Don't judge what you see on videos by what you see, because you haven't felt it.
Or what you know.
Or what you know. Yeah, see, that's a big limitation. And in many ways, by design, this art is set up combatively for it to be difficult to understand exactly what you're seeing. It's supposed to be a little deceptive and a bit camouflaged. You don't want your opponent, just as in when Jay was expecting me to tell you, okay, I want to fight. Even at that level in a demonstration, I was still applying Systema principles, which is, well, what does this mean? At the most, it might mean my hand is higher.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we even practice doing.
No, that's a perfect defensive position
Yes.
from which everything can happen.
Exactly.
And you're already halfway there, kind of.
Yeah.
And you're protected to a certain extent, and psychologically, the person is pacified to a certain extent, or enraged, one or the other.
Well, we're always talking about trying not to amp up the person.
Yeah.
If I do this, I'm amping you for sure. I'm sending a clear
Yeah, for
message.
sure.
Let's get it on. Let's
Yeah.
fight. But if I'm standing here, particularly when you add this into it, this is coming. Just
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Some people get very unnerved. They think you're some kind of psycho. But it definitely throws off, you immediately want to start taking them off their game and playing with their intentions.
Right.
By not projecting what they expect you to project. This is a key.
Well, you certainly have a lot of confidence developed over years of training. I'm sure, well, I've seen you act spontaneously and spontaneously and effectively in your classes.
Yeah, so I guess that would be the big thing. And I would say also don't underestimate the dramatic health and fitness aspects of this art. You know, for one thing, I watch too many people in so-called stand-up martial arts that don't have a clue how to fall properly and how to roll properly.
That's why they're standing up.
And even the falling and rolling in a lot of the combat sports is not the ultimate for going down on concrete or asphalt.
Yeah.
It's not good. Break falls, oh my gosh, you will break something.
Yeah.
You know, so this art is really geared to learning how to fall and roll in ways that will work on any kind of a surface.
And the principles were also applicable for ground fighting as well.
Oh yes, we fight on all levels to the ground. And this art also has the only actual functional, totally realistic approach, and way more than Aikido, for dealing with multiple real attackers simultaneously.
Yeah, well, you see that on YouTube, but it's impossible to understand what's going on.
It's really difficult to do. And that dramatically influences how you train one-on-one too. That's why we were doing a lot of work today where you begin from the point of contact with the knife coming into your body. It's actually coming into your body, and you're using your body to move the blade offline and to get to the flat side of the blade while you're striking other people with your arm. So you have to have the body mechanics for that. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention too, back to the health and fitness thing. This art has undone tons of crazy muscle habits, habitual tension issues that I had for years because of the body freeing that comes from all that joint work, which you understand from silk reeling, and we do a lot of partner work too, where your partner takes your joints and manipulates them in ways that you can't do on your own because you have habits, right? Yeah, see, and your body frees up so much that it enhances your endurance and your ability to do much more, I'll say, fully symmetrical kinds of fitness work where you're hitting the entire group of muscles, ligaments, and tendons because you're not doing it in such a linear way. We do things with sticks that are bizarre. Give you an example. We'll take a 4-foot stick. Everybody uses a 4-foot stick to a longer stick, right? The Russian martial arts have been brilliant with the use of these things. Take a simple exercise like a bench press with a barbell, right? Well, your partner lays down on the ground. You hold it up like a barbell. Well, now he puts his hands on the outside of your hands and he kicks back his weight a little bit and he provides the resistance. But it's different, right? Because human bodies are always moving slightly even when they're supposedly standing still. So once his body starts to move, he's not moving in a linear progression like a bunch of barbell weights would be moving on the ends of that stick. There's wiggle waggle going on.
Yeah.
So you're not just doing this, you're doing this. And you have to do all this compensation. Your chest, your intercostal muscles, everything's moving just to do a simple bench press. Because the weight, the resistance is in motion. Now that's combative resistance.
Now normally the root is in the foot, but I guess lying on the back, you would, in the upper thoracic area if you're doing the barbell lift.
If you're doing the barbell part, yeah, and yet that changes dramatically. We use each other like jungle gyms too. You know, sometimes you'll stand and the guy has to climb up your body while you stand there. And you have to figure out how to stay stable while he's climbing up you like you're a tree. So look at all the work that's going on. Or how about you take a 4-foot stick and you shove it in the corner over here and you grab the bottom of the stick and now you have to walk up the stick with your hands while it's moving. It's a workout. And this is in general, those principles are a lot of how Systema fitness work is. It's more asymmetrical so that you're doing a lot of work across the body and all over the body at the same time.
And what are the most repetitive comments you get from students who have put some time and effort into your art?
The single most repetitive remark I get is how dramatically it's affecting them in positive ways in all levels of stressful situations.
So I mean, ultimately, and it's all the same, you know, the individual,
We're good?
right? The individual focuses on self-cultivation to protect himself, his family, and then the community, and then you have that overlay. I mean, that actually might be a draw. Yeah, I mean, the idea that it would be good to be a Christian from Systema, but I'm sure any religion.
Oh yeah, and they're
sincere.
very good about that. They're very open about that. You know, they're accepting of people having other backgrounds. You know, so you know, mine's far more Eastern. I'm sure you realize that. I mean, that's, academically, that's, you know, studying original Taoism and Chan and Zen and practicing for many years.
I actually went to the cave where Damo sat.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's
wow,
fascinating.
that'd be something. Just the energetics of that visit.
It was unbelievable.
I bet it was. That's wild.
So, do you have any plans to travel beyond Canada?
Well, I mean, my more immediate plans are actually Southeast Asia, in about a year and a half. But you mean as far as going to the,
Yeah.
well, probably not in the current,
Yeah.
in the current world, but oh yeah, I would love to do that. I would
Well,
love
if
to
you have
go.
access to the masters that you've mentioned, gee, that's all you really need. Why take on a whole cultural transition?
Plus they're, you know, like Vladimir just, I believe he's back now. He will be back in November for sure, but he was just in the UK and he's in Europe. They're both in Europe a lot. And Japan. This art has taken off in Japan like you would never believe.
Yeah.
You know, like I believe I saw Vladimir say in a video one time something about how humbled they were and impressed they were that the Japanese would take this because they already have such a rich martial culture already. But yet, here folks in Japan, I think, are seeing what I'm seeing is, oh, this connects a lot of things.
It also frees you from a lot of things.
Aha! Excellent. Good point. Mm-hmm.
You know, because living in a straitjacket of your own creation or creation of someone else is not going to make you as happy as just dancing or twirling in circles or practicing without attention.
Good point. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
What else you want to say?
Oh, I don't know. I just say back to you know, stay open-minded, and you know what? If you're going to judge something, judge it after you've experienced it, not just because you watched a video. There are a lot of big boobs on YouTube these days.
Yeah.
You know, they like the bullshito and all this kind of stuff, and all they do is criticize stuff. And it's you know, come and let somebody's hands be on you. And feel what they're doing. I don't mean that in a, you know, beat you up way. I just mean it. Come and feel what's happening here, because as you noted, I haven't seen people do that and then walk back and go, oh, that doesn't work. It's the opposite. And you can probably imagine the number of challenges that have happened.
I imagine.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like you wouldn't believe. You know, so, and none of those have ended in a position of, let's say, anyone, especially in the higher echelons of this art, being the one who couldn't get up and walk out.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened.
Well, the point is, I know you, I know your background. This art is so unique and different, and it's really been a pleasure talking to you. I think anybody who would take the time to maybe watch a class or get involved in a class would be doing themselves a favor. Worst is going to happen is you don't
resonate. Yeah, it's not for everybody.
The fact that you're telling me this means a lot more because of my respect for you. And I think that other people should be open-minded.
With you there. We need more of that in this world, don't we?
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Good.
Appreciate
Thank
it. Thanks.
That was good, Ken. I think that would be useful. I mean,